Let me know if you guys do not see it. But within this document, I basically give a very quick overview for the purpose of what's below. Proposed plan, objective, strategy, goals, and then actually show a process flow for how it looks. And then below, I dive further into the specific details that go along with each step in the process, as well as description and specific needs, things I identified, whether that be documentation, content, tools, you name it, just things that we'll need to build and do. And so would love to just run through this. I ramble quite a bit, so please feel free to jump in and stop me if you have any questions. And then we'll also obviously continue chatting about this in the Slack after. All right, so not intending to read this after you. Basically what I just mumbled to you is the overview. What we want to do is establish really solid, repeatable processes so that any new team member is able to actually become involved in the community, that they're able to convert to full-fledged team members, giving like their maximum and contributing, and just not scaring away people when they don't know what to do. So just making it very clear. So let's go ahead and look at a plan. So one thing you'll notice is I do not have a PowerPoint deck. I sort of despise PowerPoint. Anyways, the objective, so like I mentioned, the repeatable process. Also, a key thing is that we're determining and driving just different needs that we'll have along the way to help bring this to fruition. And ultimately, it's really about identifying and converting people with progressive-minded goals, as we all have, toward contributing within this network. So the strategy for accomplishing the above provides some really, really straightforward, self-paced onboarding that gives a very guided experience as well, and clear options for how people can contribute across all of the different things going on the team, whether that be development, like all of you very talented people, to documentation and process and stuff like this for people like me. I think, just a very, tenet of within development is, just driving toward a very lightweight approach at first and just iterate and improve and just make improvements over time. Like, let's not try to build the tool that's the be-all, end-all at the gate. Let's get it on paper and go from there. Building systematic, repeatable processes and tools, and just very clearly defined onboarding process is just very critical. Obviously, that's what it is. And then ultimately drive toward one integrated system where you can easily see all the different tools, all the different projects ongoing and how you can contribute, regardless of whether you want to contribute 5 minutes or 5 hours a day. And also, as you'll see for a lot of these things, especially like Code Corps, for example, there's a great place where there's a lot of these things that are sort of already brewing. And so it's just a great opportunity to like really connect the different things going on and bring them into one very integrated approach. And then finally, partner with ancillary organizations, whether that's different online organizations, different in-person organizations, but there's just so many people and so many groups with the same exact goals that we all share, where how do we work most effectively with them? How do we make sure that we're reaching out to them and having the same sort of team members across so that we're contributing together and working toward building the same goals and same tools that are utilized across different organizations. And then mentioned a couple times, but first goal is creating that one system that manages all onboarding and all operational work. And through the process, we'll sort of define that. That's a further out goal. Thinking of, one very important thing that I'll detail in a moment is I see having an onboarding buddy that is able to walk you through and help you, guide you along the way, so that you always have somebody looking out for you. That's not just Rafi all day, because I think he needs to sleep once in a while, so that we have other people, so we can help one another along in the community and help people contribute where they're most effective and where it would lead to. And then finally, some percentage, work out the percentages, but the goal, of course, isn't just to get people on, but it's to get them like really, truly part of the team. And another concept that I'll cover in a moment is this idea of the rings, that the different teams and different projects going on are sort of part of different rings. I don't think Anna's on the call, but she's been working on a social crowd reach, and she brought the idea up of a kind of sociocratic organizational structure, and just something that's like very interesting as a way to organize. So as I mentioned, that process flow diagram for how all this comes together. All right, so we start over here with, the start of onboarding. The very first thing that we do is identify onboarding or identify potential team members. I tried to, for as much of this as possible, take what Rafi and Pat presented out last week from the proposed team strategy. So you'll see hopefully a lot of commonalities. So thinking about, and for all of this, I have to say it's all, first draft, so it's all open as much as we can give other suggestions and ideas and ways that we can refine this and make this more effective and more impactful. That's what this is really all about. So it's first kind of thoughts here, but definitely what I'm looking forward to is how we can work together following this. I digress. A couple of the key places, avenues that I see for, and that Rafi talked about for identifying team members are in person. So through meetups, through other community events, through hackathons, whatever it may be. There's a lot of stuff going on. How do we get out there? How do we work directly with these people, meet people in the streets? Like, it's just still online. You have the much greater reach, much greater ability to reach people. However, in person, it's just sort of easier to build that initial connection. So just a phenomenal place to go and find new team members that are really after the same things we are. Online, obviously through social, through forums, even I've talked to a number of different people just through Reddit where I see their messaging, hey, I wish there was a better way to do blah, blah. And they'll probably message, hey, there's actually a group that's working on this right over here. Why don't we chat? And it's just such an, obviously you can talk from me in Seattle, somebody in Hong Kong. We can have a conversation instantaneously. And then there's also other different chat groups in IRC, whatever, messaging apps like Slack, other forums. So just there's a number of different ways where we can reach out to additional people and go after shared goals, whether as a full team member directly here or as a partner, which is the third group. Partners, obviously a number of different progressive events, progressive efforts, brand new Congress, political revolution, our revolution, so many to name. Whether it's through different issues, going to local protests, going to things that aren't necessarily even related to coding, but things that where we have similar sort of that progressive kind of outreach. And then even directly through candidates, where they know people that are working on this. How can we, again, shared goals. So as we identify these people in the first step over here, move over to actually understanding what their interests and skills are. It's important to really map out what their journey is, how they'll work most effectively with this team, and how they can contribute in the best way. One important thing that I see that we would need is just at the very beginning, what is progressive coders? What isn't it? What are the options when you come here? What's the differences? Just really giving that really high level overview to the person. Right away, I definitely want to, as you first understand general information about them, how do you assign them to an onboarding buddy who has that same sort of level of interest where they can just work together and go through the journey together? As you have your onboarding buddy, where do you identify what are the best places where I can plug in? I don't know. Like, let's find out. And then begin integrating into different projects, see what works, see what doesn't. But just ultimately, it's all about how do we contribute and want to make that happen. While this is going on, I think we need a kind of rich subset of onboarding materials just that help explain what we're doing here, as I mentioned, give the training if people are interested in this but don't necessarily have the skills, or point people at the training. What information do we need to have a more inclusive sort of community? How do we actually explain what tools are here? How do you actually operate within the system? All that good stuff. How do you actually do things here? As the team members are very nicely trained and ready to go, they know exactly what they want to do, introduce them into the project, and then start contributing with the project. And soon enough, join the project ring that I mentioned, that more here is just more official, you're a part of our team, whatever it may be, we'll figure it out. But just going through that process. And then finally, I like the idea of just reporting out to the network. Who are you? Where do you come from? What do you do? What worked? What didn't work? What do you like? How can we continue to improve and iterate? Whew, a lot of words. All right, so I'll be just about done here. I'm not going to actually run through this, but I'll share out the link following for any feedback comments. But this includes, as I mentioned, a lot of what I talked about. So I'm not going to waste your time repeating it, but just what I see is sort of what are the key things that we'll need to build. Thinking about just next steps that I would see. I guess actually I will really quickly touch on the opens that I saw, just the big sort of things in thinking about this. How do we make decisions? How do we make changes once we've made initial decisions? What is our, I guess I already thought about this before I bothered you earlier, Rafi, but what is our central repository for our community guidance and resources, and where are we going? How's everything organized? And how do we partner with other organizations on this? How do we drive the greatest impact and the greatest efficiency? Next steps to CM. I think it would be worthwhile to discuss not just onboarding, but sort of a lot of operational things for people that are interested, not clutter our general. So I think it'd be great to create a channel dedicated to that discussion. Of course, like I mentioned, when I share out this plan, the video will be out there for the world forever. But I'll share this out for any additional feedback. I think ultimately, as I mentioned, like this, let's like exploring like how do these teams get organized, and how can we figure out just once, and then every team's different, every team's self-governing, but like if we can find out a system and process where we can organize ourselves once for the majority of teams that they can do it, and building up all the operations, I think it's just a great opportunity to reduce like a lot of stuff that probably people don't necessarily want to spend too much time discovering on their own if somebody else can. It'd be great to run a pilot with civic tech communities around this onboarding. Let's make it happen. And I was working on that down below in this document as well. I'll probably share that out next time. Identifying some core team members, if this shakes anyone else's whatever, if anyone else is interested in this sort of thing, or if you're from a different group where you're working on the same sort of challenges, I absolutely love to work together and see how we can just figure this out once instead of doing it over and over again. The more we work together, the better we'll be. And I think ultimately, next step of what is the next level proposal plan? What are the specific details around all of these things for making it happen? How do we go from bullets to something that's actually able to be achieved? And then from there, how do we review and prioritize all that? All right, and with that, I will stop talking now. Thank you all very, very much for your time. I would love to take any questions, feedback, whatever you have here and then in this Slack. And I have enjoyed working with all of you already and look forward to much, much more.
Thank you so much, Joe. I created an operations channel. So it's there already. So you go lead that effort. And
hooray! Step one done.